Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. We're diving deep into one of the most shocking courtroom moments in recent GH history. The revelation surrounding Drew Cain's cell phone records and how they may prove that Willow Cain is actually the shooter. This bombshell twist has fans reeling, wondering whether this soft-spoken nurse might be hiding a much darker secret than anyone imagined. The courtroom tension rises. In the December 19th episode of General Hospital, the trial scene exploded with tension as Drew Cain took the stand. The usually composed former Navy SEAL looked shaken as Assistant District Attorney Justine Turner grilled him relentlessly. Turner wasted no time pressing Drew for details about the night of the shooting, his whereabouts, his alibi, and who he communicated with that evening. Drew calmly stated that he had been home alone, but when pressed further, he reluctantly admitted that he hadn't made or received any calls or texts during that crucial time frame. The audience, both in the courtroom and watching from home, could almost feel the silence hang in the air before Ada Turner held up Drew's cell phone records like a weapon. She confirmed what Drew had just said. No calls, no texts, no activity at all. To the casual observer, that might sound insignificant, but to General Hospital fans who pay attention to every frame, this piece of evidence could be the puzzle piece that changes everything. The ringtone that gives everything away. Longtime viewers will remember that on the night of the shooting, two key witnesses, Trina Robinson and newcomer Kai Taylor, were hiding nearby. As terror filled the scene, they both distinctly heard a ringtone echoing through the room, the gentle melody of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. At the time, everyone assumed the sound came from Drew's phone, with most believing it was Scout Quarter, Maine, Drew's daughter, trying to call her dad. But now that Ada Turner's records show no such call was ever received, that assumption doesn't hold water. If Scout's call never reached Drew's phone, then where did that ringtone come from? It's a chilling question because it means someone else in that room, possibly the shooter, had their phone set to the exact same ringtone. What the writers are hinting at. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star isn't exactly a generic tone you'd expect multiple adults to have on their phones. It's cute, nostalgic, and deeply personal. Drew previously mentioned that this lullaby was Scout's favorite song when she was younger, something he shared with Willow during their conversations about family and parenting. Could Willow have set this same ringtone as a sentimental way to feel closer to Scout and in doing so unknowingly exposed herself in court? That tiny clue may have been the moment the writers quietly told us who pulled the trigger. When Ada Turner emphasized Drew's empty call log, she wasn't just making a procedural point. She was cracking open the door to a hidden truth by showing that no one called Drew. GH may have been signaling that the Twinkle Twinkle ringtone came from someone else. Someone emotionally linked to both Drew and Scout. The psychology of Willow Cain. Willow has been portrayed for years as gentle, empathetic, and grounded. But that doesn't mean she's incapable of a desperate act, especially considering the trauma she's endured. Between her battle with leukemia, her strained relationship with Nina Reeves, and the ongoing chaos surrounding Michael Corinthos, Willow's mental stability has been seriously tested. Add to that the emotional entanglement with Drew, who's been both a friend and protector, and the pieces start to fit into a darker picture. Maybe this wasn't a cold-blooded attempt to kill. Maybe it was a moment born out of pain, confusion, or mistaken identity. If Willow truly fired that gun, it could have been an act of misplaced vengeance or wild fear. Some fans even speculate that Willow might have been aiming for someone else and Drew became collateral damage. A hidden cover-up. There's growing buzz that Willow may have tried to cover her tracks after the shooting. Drew's phone records prove someone tampered with the evidence or at least manipulated the narrative afterward. If the ringtone came from Willow's device, it might mean she was closer to the scene than anyone thought. Could she have returned afterward to retrieve something she dropped or to make sure Drew was alive? Moreover, several eagle-eyed fans online noticed that in a previous episode, Willow nervously silenced her phone when the same lullaby started playing. At the time, it seemed like an innocent moment. Now, it looks like pure foreshadowing. GH writers love layers like that. Planting clues months ahead of the big reveal. What Drew might remember. Drew's recovery from his head injury has been slow, but GH spoilers hint that a flood of memories could soon come rushing back. The sight or sound of that familiar tune could unlock what really happened that night. Imagine Drew sitting alone trying to process everything when his phone suddenly plays those first soft notes of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. In that moment, he might be transported back, remembering the flash of light, the smell of gunpowder, and the silhouette of the person who pulled the trigger. When that realization hits, it could turn the entire Kane and Corinthos families upside down. The emotional fallout would be phenomenal, especially if Drew must choose between exposing Willow or protecting her for the sake of his daughter, Scout. The ripple effects across Port Charles. If this theory proves true, the aftermath will ripple far beyond Drew and Willow. Michael Corinthos could be torn between protecting his wife and upholding what's right. Na might seize this opportunity to prove she was right about Willow's instability all along. Even Carly could be dragged into the mess given her long history of covering for people she loves. A temptation she might not resist if it means protecting family. Trina and Kai, meanwhile, may find themselves at the center of the courtroom storm again. Their testimony dissected under the harsh light of public scrutiny. Their credibility and safety could become targets if word gets out that they hold the key to the ringtone mystery. The storytelling strategy behind the twist. Soap operas are built on reveals like this, moments when a seemingly mundane detail suddenly flips the narrative upside down. The writers at General Hospital are masters of slow burn suspense, often using courtroom scenes as catalysts for emotional fireworks. By making Drew's cell phone a central piece of evidence, they've turned technology itself into a character. One that exposes lies, secrets, and hidden connections. The no-activity phone log isn't just data. It's a mirror reflecting the true relationships between these characters. It shows isolation, miscommunication, and emotional distance. Things that Willow has struggled with since arriving in Port Charles. What's next for GH? The next few episodes promise to bring even more revelations. Rumors suggest that Drew may start conducting his own investigation while outwardly playing along with the DA's narrative. Meanwhile, Willow's composure could begin to crack, leading to suspicious behavior that others can't ignore. Could GH be setting up another courtroom showdown? One where Willow herself becomes the defendant? It's possible that the storyline won't just center on guilt or innocence, but on why the shooting happened. Was it premeditated? Was someone else manipulating events behind the scenes? Perhaps someone like Cyrus Renaud or even Victor Cassidon's leftover allies? General Hospital never operates in simple black and white morality, and that's what makes this storyline so deliciously complex. Final thoughts. So with Drew's phone records now public, the puzzle pieces are falling into place. The absence of Scout's call and that haunting lullaby ringtone point directly toward Willow Canane as the person holding the smoking gun. What remains to be seen is how long she can maintain her fade before the truth bursts out in classic GH fashion. Dramatic, emotional, and utterly unforgettable as secrets unravel and memories resurface. One question remains. Will love and loyalty protect Willow, or will justice finally expose her hidden guilt? Next, we will learn about the escalating tension between Jason Morgan and Jocelyn Jacks as their latest confrontation threatens to unravel everything they've both worked so hard to protect in Port Charles and beyond. Jason Morgan has built his entire reputation on being the ultimate guardian for those he loves, particularly when it comes to the Corinthos family. For years, he stood as an unwavering pillar of protection for Carly and Sonny's children, treating each one as if they were his own flesh and blood. Jocelyn Jacks has always held a special place in this protective circle. Despite the biological reality that Jasper Jacks is her actual father, the bond between Jason and Joss runs deeper than genetics. It's forged in loyalty. Shared experiences and countless moments where Jason has proven himself to be someone she can count on when the world falls apart around her. When Joss made the shocking decision to join the World Security Bureau, Jason found himself grappling with emotions he rarely experiences. The news hit him like a freight train, forcing him to reconcile his protective instincts with respect for her autonomy and career choices. This wasn't just any job. The WSB operates in the shadows of international espionage, where danger lurks around every corner, and one wrong move can cost an agent everything, including their life. Jason understood the gravity of what Joss had chosen. And while every fiber of his being wanted to talk her out of it, he bit his tongue and supported her decision. It was one of the hardest things he's ever had to do. Watching someone he considers family willingly walk into a world where betrayal and death are occupational hazards. Now, months into her role as a WB agent, Jason finds himself in an impossible position. He needs Joss's help to unravel a mystery that's been haunting him since his own entanglement with the organization began. At the center of this web sits Britt Westman, a woman whose past connections and current predicament have created a dangerous situation that threatens to explode at any moment. Jason has discovered that Britt isn't just caught up in something problematic. She's deeply embedded in a conspiracy involving the notorious criminal mastermind Jen Sidwell, whose operations span from the war-torn streets of Croatia all the way back to the seemingly peaceful harbor town of Port Charles. The revelation that Britt has been collaborating with Sidwell on completing Caesar Faison's legendary cold fusion project adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Faison's work on cold fusion wasn't just scientific ambition. It was a potential weapon of mass destruction that could reshape global power dynamics if it fell into the wrong hands. The fact that Britt, a respected physician with her own moral compass, would involve herself in such a dangerous endeavor suggests she's either being coerced or has compelling reasons that Jason hasn't fully uncovered yet. The project represents everything the WSB has been trying to prevent for decades. And its resurrection under Sidwell's control could trigger an international incident that makes previous Port Charles crises look like minor inconveniences. Jason believes he's on the verge of cracking the case wide open. All the pieces are starting to align. Connections are becoming clearer and patterns are emerging from what once seemed like random chaos. However, his path forward is fraught with complications that extend far beyond typical investigative challenges. He needs to navigate this minefield with extreme precision because one misstep could destroy Britt's future entirely. The stakes for her are impossibly high, not just her freedom or reputation. But her very life hangs in the balance due to circumstances that make her particularly vulnerable. Britt's situation is further complicated by her ongoing battle with Huntington's disease. A devastating neurological condition that should have progressed far beyond where she is now. Through some medical miracle, or perhaps something more sinister, she's been receiving treatment that has essentially frozen her diagnosis in its tracks. This experimental medication has given her a reprieve from the relentless progression of symptoms that would typically rob her of motor control, cognitive function, and eventually her life. The drug represents hope in its purest form. But it also makes her dependent on a treatment regimen that could be controlled or manipulated by those with leverage over her circumstances. Jason knows that disrupting whatever arrangement keeps Britt medicated could sentence her to a rapid decline and an agonizing fate. What troubles observers most about this entire situation is the unprecedented pressure Jason has placed on Joss to compromise herself for Britt's sake. Throughout their relationship, Jason has never asked Joss to sacrifice her principles or safety for anyone. Yet here he stands essentially demanding she betray her oath as a federal agent. The contradiction is striking and completely out of character for someone who has historically valued protecting the young people in his orbit above all else. Joss finds herself trapped between her loyalty to Jason and her commitment to the career she's chosen. Forced to weigh which betrayal she can live with when both options carry devastating consequences. Jason's track record with the Corinthos family speaks for itself. He's been their rock through countless storms, never wavering in his commitment, even when doing so put his own life at risk. He saved Michael from kidnappings, protected Morgan during his darkest struggles, helped Dante navigate the complexities of mob family life, and been there for Joss through heartbreaks and triumphs alike. His loyalty isn't performative, it's bone deep and absolute. He set the gold standard for what it means to stand by people through thick and thin, never abandoning them when circumstances got difficult or dangerous. This history makes his current request all the more jarring because it represents such a departure from his established pattern of behavior. When Jason approached Joss with his request for classified information, her resistance was immediate and visceral. She pushed back hard, explaining in no uncertain terms that what he was asking could cost her everything she's worked for. Her career with the WSB isn't just a job. It's a calling she takes seriously, representing her chance to make a real difference in the world beyond Port Charles' borders. The training she endured, the sacrifices she made, and the trust she's built with her superiors would all evaporate if she were exposed as someone who leaked sensitive intelligence to civilians, even one she cares about deeply. Beyond career concerns, her own safety would be compromised the moment she became known as a security risk. The inconsistency in Jason's position is glaring when examined closely. He claims he would rather die than put Jaws in jeopardy, stating this with the kind of conviction that makes it clear he means every word. Yet in the same breath, he's asking her to provide him with classified WB intelligence about their operations in Croatia and Brit's involvement in the Sidwell situation. This isn't just casual information sharing between friends. It's asking her to commit an act that federal prosecutors would classify as treason if discovered. The cognitive dissonance is stunning, especially from someone typically known for his straightforward approach and unwillingness to manipulate people he cares about. Historically, Jason has been the person who actively prevents Carly's children from putting themselves in harm's way, regardless of their own wishes or determinations. When Michael wanted to get involved in Sonny's business, Jason counseled led against it. When Morgan's mental health issues made him vulnerable to dangerous situations, Jason worked tirelessly to keep him protected. He's always been the voice of reason, arguing for safety over adventure, security over risk. This makes his current stance all the more remarkable. He's not just failing to protect Jaws from danger. He's actively asking her to create that danger for herself. The only justification he offers is that this is for Britt, the woman who once saved Joss's life in a moment of crisis that none of them will ever forget. Jason's reasoning centers on a debt of gratitude he believes Joss owes Britt. When Joss found herself in a life-threatening situation months ago, Britt didn't hesitate to intervene, using her medical expertise and quick thinking to keep Joss alive until help arrived. That act created a bond between them. An unspoken acknowledgement that sometimes we owe people more than we can easily repay. Jason is now calling in that debt on Britt's behalf, framing his request not as something for himself, but as an opportunity for Joss to help someone who once helped her. The emotional manipulation is subtle but effective, playing on Joss's sense of honor and obligation while glossing over the massive risks involved. The hypocrisy of asking Jaws to remain safe while simultaneously requesting information that would paint an enormous target on her back is not lost on those watching this situation unfold. Jack Brennan, the WSB director, who oversees operations and maintains an iron grip on his agents, isn't someone who misses much. His intelligence network is vast and sophisticated with surveillance capabilities that make privacy nearly impossible for those in his organization. Jaws would be foolish to assume that sharing classified information with Jason would go unnoticed, especially given Jack's demonstrated ability to know things he shouldn't possibly know through conventional means. If someone within the WASB hierarchy discovered that Jaws had leaked information to Jason, the consequences would be swift and severe. At minimum, she would face imprisonment for violating federal security protocols and betraying her oath of service. The charges would likely include espionage, unauthorized disclosure of classified information, and conspiracy against the United States government. These aren't minor infractions that result in reprimands or demotions. They're career-ending, life-destroying charges that carry decades of prison time. Joss wasn't exaggerating when she told Jason this would constitute treason. The legal framework surrounding intelligence work treats such breaches with extreme prejudice because the stakes involve national security and international relations. Beyond legal consequences, Joss faces physical danger if her betrayal becomes known. The WSB doesn't always handle security breaches through official channels. There are whispers of agents who've disappeared after becoming liabilities. Their fates never officially confirmed, but understood by everyone in the organization. Jack Brennan's reach extends into dark corners where justice is administered outside courtrooms and legal protections mean nothing. Vaughn's recent disappearance serves as a chilling reminder that crossing certain lines within the WSB can have permanent consequences that no one talks about publicly. Jason demonstrated his awareness of surveillance concerns when he showed up at Joss's apartment with a message typed on his phone rather than speaking aloud. This precaution shows he understands that conversations are likely monitored, that audio surveillance is a real threat, and that even private spaces aren't truly private for WSB agents. His clever workaround suggests sophisticated operational security awareness developed through years of living on the wrong side of the law. However, his precaution also reveals the fundamental problem with his request if they need to take such extreme measures just to have a conversation. How does he expect Joss to safely extract and deliver classified information without detection? Jack Brennan's omniscience has already been demonstrated through his knowledge of Joss's intimate relationship with Vaughn. The fact that he knew about their hookup despite it occurring in what Joss presumably thought was privacy proves that his surveillance network is comprehensive and invasive. Nothing happens within his organization without his knowledge, which means any attempt by Joss to share information with Jason will likely be discovered almost immediately. The WSB didn't become one of the world's most effective intelligence agencies by being sloppy about internal security. They watch their own people as carefully as they watch foreign adversaries. Jason appears to be prioritizing his desire to rescue Britt over Joss's safety and well-being. A calculation that seems fundamentally wrong to many observers. While his intentions may be noble and his concern for Britt genuine, he's asking someone he claims to want to protect to take risks that could destroy her life. The moral mathematics don't add up. Saving one person shouldn't require sacrificing another, especially when the person being asked to sacrifice has their whole future ahead of them, while Britt is already deeply compromised by her choices and circumstances. If Jack learns that Joss provided Jason with intelligence about Croatian operations and Britt's involvement with Sidwell, the outcome is predictable and terrifying. Van's disappearance established a template for how the WSB handles agents who become problems. One day they're part of the organization, known and accounted for, and the next they vanished without explanation or trace. No official statements, no body, no closure, just an absence that everyone understands, but no one discusses. Joss could easily become the next person to disappear. Erased from the WSB roster as if she never existed. Another casualty of the shadowy world she chose to enter. The question remains whether Jason's request is justified or whether he's asking too much of someone he claims to want to protect. And the answer seems increasingly clear the longer the situation develops.